We all know what wood smoke tastes like, but did you know there's a secret second type of smoke that can make your ribs taste even more delicious? I'm talking about fat smoke, the smoke produced from burning fat over hot coals. You've tasted it before whenever you've eaten grilled chicken or steak. The fat drips down onto the coals and turns into a kind of meaty, tasty smoke that coats your ribs and gives them that quintessential backyard grilled meat flavor. Guys with drum smokers can get this grilled meat flavor easily because the fat is slowly dripping directly onto the coals during the entire cook. But how do those of us with offset smokers, pellet smokers, and other types of smokers get this flavor? Well, one way is to sear your ribs as a final step before saucing them. But I find that the grilled meat flavor you get from doing that isn't even close to what I get on my drum smoker when the ribs are directly smoked over coals the entire time. So in this video, I'm testing two different methods to get that grilled meat flavor on my offset smoker. I'm going to finish one rack of ribs by burning the rib trimmings in the firebox and another one by burning bacon in the firebox, and we're gonna see if I can add some next level flavor to my ribs with fat smoke. I'm starting with 6 racks of ribs because I'm doing a competition cooking practice for Memphis in May, but I'm only using 2 of the racks of ribs for this particular experiment. I'm slicing open the cryovac bag with a sharp knife, and I'm removing the membrane from the back of both racks. I like to wiggle my knife in there to get a finger hold and use paper towel to grip it and rip it. Now I'm slicing off the flap meat on one side of the ribs and then slicing the top of the ribs to get rid of the cartilage that extends from the bones. After trimming 6 racks, you can see I'm acquiring quite the big old pile of meat. Normally I'd make these into rib tips, but in this case I'll be burning these on the fire to see if I can squeeze out some of that grilled meat flavor from them. Now I'm injecting all of my ribs with Cosmos Q pork injection because this is a comp practice, and also I'm just really starting to like the flavor of injected ribs. It just adds a lot to them. Now I'm getting my GP rub, soon to be available on Amazon in the next few months. I really wanted it to look good, so I paid a designer $1,000 for the label design. Hope you guys like it. Not, or did I? Now I'm salt baying the back of the ribs, then flipping them over and distributing the spices in a uniform pattern on the top of the ribs. These look pretty good, but the actual rub will be a little bit redder because I'm adding some paprika oleo resin to them because redder barbecue tastes better according to the competition world. I don't know why theoretically the judges just like the look of red barbecue better, but that's an argument for another video. Now I'm lighting up the firebox on my Oklahoma Joe's Longhorn, nothing special here. Then I add smaller splits to maintain temps at 225 degrees. I'm doing that by placing a water pan over a grate directly in my firebox. These smaller offsets run hot, so currently my favorite thing to do is have a water pan right in there in the firebox to soak up the heat and drop the temperatures to a manageable level. It also provides a little bit of humidity, which makes barbecue better. Now the ribs are going on the smoker. I'm using some cooling racks to fit them all in there. I just personally like cooking ribs horizontally, so that's why I'm using these instead of the vertical racks that you might typically see at a barbecue supply store. Now 4 hours later, the ribs are at 145 internal and they look like this. I don't want to go much longer because they'll get too dark, and I'm going for a redder look because again, this is competition barbecue practice that I'm doing, and judges like redder looking barbecue for some reason. I don't know why, I just work here. I'm now wrapping the ribs in foil bone side down and ladling in some clarified butter. The ribs are now going to hold in my Pit Boss Copperhead at 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 18 hours. I got this smoker because it can go down to super low holding temps, and it has a PID controller, so I'm basically using it as a holding oven, but it's competition legal because it's wood fired with pellets. You can't use electric heating sources in competition barbecue. Now I'm removing some racks from the pellet smoker and putting them back on the offset smoker. I'm now saucing them up, and now I'm gonna throw some of these chunks of rib trimmings directly onto the fire to create that fat smoke. I think it would be really cool if this worked because I like the idea of using the rib tips from the actual ribs themselves to add more flavor to the ribs. I think that's really cool. And after 5 minutes, I'm removing the ribs, and this is how they look. Hopefully they got some good flavor from that fatty smoke, but to be honest, I didn't see much smoke in the main chamber, so it has me a little bit worried. Now I'm placing another rack on the smoker, and I'm throwing half a pack of bacon directly onto the fire. The bacon started smoking almost immediately and produced a ton of smoke, possibly because there was more fat in it than the trimmings. And finally, 5 minutes later, the ribs look like this, and there was a ton of smoke in the main chamber, so I think these are gonna be really good. All right, guys, I have all 3 experimental ribs here. I have the ones that were smoked with the trimmings, the rib tips. I have the ones that were smoked with the bacon in the middle here, and I have the ones that were individually sliced and seared. So let's start with the ones that were smoked with the rib tips, because I really want that method to work, because it means that I could use the rib tips for something kind of interesting to add a little bit more flavor to the ribs, and they wouldn't go to waste. So I'm just gonna slice off a big old double rib here. I'm gonna treat myself a little bit. I'll give you guys a little bit of eye candy. It's really juicy. That is so good. These ribs are really good. They have a ton of flavor. They have a ton of moisture. I love the tenderness. And I was kind of so blown away by the taste and tenderness that I forgot to taste for what I was actually experimenting with in this video, which is smoke flavor. And when I thought about it a little bit, I didn't really notice any at all. So I'm gonna take one more bite here. There is the slightest hint of grilled meat flavor. When I smell it, I can smell a little bit of grilled meat flavor, but it's barely there. So I don't think the rib tip method is really that worth it. Okay, let's try out the bacon smoked ribs. That sounds good, bacon smoked ribs. Yum. Give me some of those. Okay, this one's a little bit thicker. Looks nice and juicy. I didn't notice it initially, but when it develops on the palate, it kind of hits you like 3 seconds later, and it's very intensely grilled meat flavored. Oh yeah, like the more that I wait and the more that it kind of lingers on my palate, like I just notice it even more. It's a really intense, classical backyard grilled meat type flavor, like grilled steak, it brings to mind, grilled sausages, grilled chicken most of all actually, like when you sear chicken on a really hot grill and it creates that intense grilled meat flavor. It's really, really good. So smoking the ribs with bacon is definitely the winner so far, but let's try out the ribs that we just seared and see if they developed any grilled meat flavor. I'll give you guys a look. We did sear these on all sides, so it looks a little bit, you know, drier on that side because it's been seared. These are my favorite ribs out of all of these 3 racks, hands down. I like the seared meat flavor. It has a little bit of grilled meat flavor, but surprisingly it's more subdued. And that's weird to me because we actually seared these, so they should taste intensely of grilled meat. But the ones we smoked with bacon in the firebox, they actually have more of a grilled meat flavor. So in conclusion, any of these methods will work to really up the flavor of your ribs and add some grilled meat flavor that I really think adds a lot to ribs, and I think it's a nice finishing layer. But out of all 3 of these methods, hands down, the best method was burning bacon in the firebox. You could leave them on for as little as 30 seconds. I don't think it needs much. I left these on for about 5 minutes and it's almost too much grilled meat flavor. So use it sparingly, use it in the last few minutes when you're just tacking up the sauce on the ribs, and you're gonna add some incredible flavor to your ribs. If you guys have any ideas for future experiments you'd like to see on this channel, let me know in the comments section below. I will see you in the next video, and until then, happy smoking.